Human! The Rifleman attack cooldown is increased. That means they attack slower. If a cooldown is increased, they attack slower by 0.05. I think Riflemen are very strong. I think taking damage away is probably not the right thing. So adjusting attack cooldown is very good. Disclaimer from me. While I have usually a very good idea when I see, for example, a damage value changing, in my mind, I see already what it does. When we talk about attack cooldown, I don't have that intuition. This is one line where I can't see how much that affects the unit and the strength of a unit. And we will see one other example afterwards as well. So while I think this is good and it's very little, I don't know how much exactly that is. So I give the direction a thumbs up. For the value, I don't know. Sorcerer's Master Training, and this is going to be a theme for the entire patch. Master Training research time reduced from 75 to 60 seconds. This is something that a lot of people suggested. Save Orcas first and foremost. It's been out there as suggestions for over a year, now warmed up again and finally on the desk of the Blizzard people. I think in most cases this is very good. Priest is certainly debatable if they should get the same treatment. Every single Master Training will be 60 seconds, except Druid of the Claw, that's faster, and Necromancers, that's also faster, by default already. So, faster Polymorph, faster Priest, Inner Fire. Level 2 Water Elemental gets a damage nerf by 1, but only on level 2. So the level 3 Archmage creeping water elementals and base pushes get a little bit nerfed. But we have to see this in the entire context of the patch. So hold your horses, we're going to read through it one more time. Shaman also get the Master Research Time treatment. Witch Doctor get the Master Research Time treatment. Walker get the Master Research Time treatment. Everything shaved off. Chuck, chuck, chuck. 15 seconds gone, 15 seconds gone, 5 seconds gone. So all Master Casters, 60 seconds. Healing self-duration reduced by 5 seconds. This means you heal minimally faster from 9 HP per second to 10 HP per second. The amount of healing is still 400. The cost is still the same. This is the only change to sustain on orcs. Night Elf. Talon Master Training, also faster. Glaive Thrower build time, 48 seconds to 42 seconds. So we get Glaive Throwers, the siege unit of Night Elf, faster. And if I'm not mistaken, they also repair faster. But someone can correct me if that's wrong. But I think if the build time is faster, also the repair time is faster. Check that for me if you want. Ghouls! Ghouls! Damage is back to 10. The base damage is back to 10. That's a buff. They also get a nerf and attack slower. Very similar to the Rifleman. 135. The attack cooldown is almost the same. Nerfed by 0.05. This is still a net buff. I had to understand this a little bit. If it's a buff for the first attack, but then the damage curve goes down. Because attack speed doesn't matter for the first attack, right? The first attack is always the first attack. Attack speed only matters between attacks. So between attack 1 and 2. Between attack 2 and 3. That's when attack speed matters. So the first attack is always the same. But it's still a net buff to ghouls. They are still not as strong as they were before. It's a 4% buff, more or less. Somewhat in between. People aren't too sure yet. Is it a 4% buff or is it a 7% buff? I don't know. Banshee Master Training research time, same treatment. And this is a bit scary because Banshee is a very powerful Master Training. It is debatable if Banshees, and that also includes Priests, if Priests and Banshees should get the 60-second treatment or not. if they should be, maybe because these spells are so strong and they have also the environment to support it, should be 75 seconds. Because priests are fueled by Archmage Brilliance Aura, banshees are fueled by statues, they can support their spells, right? Debatable, we save that for later. Wand of Negation, nerfed into the ground. This is the Dispel Staff that the Undeads have on tier 2. You buy it, it had 4 charges. You buy it for 150 gold, it had 4 charges, no cooldown. You do it, pow, 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 Water Elemental gone. Currently. Now, they're a little cheaper. They only have 3 charges instead of 4. And they have a 5-second cooldown. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, a Water Elemental has 625 HP. That means, on the current live server, you would be able to one-shot a Water Elemental in 1 second. This change means you cannot completely dispel a Water Elemental in 15 seconds. So what this means is, Wand of Negation is still good against disables, like Hex, Entangle, Sleep, stuff like that. It is not good against summons anymore. It's 10 seconds. It's 10 seconds. You're right. They're Schaffner. You're correct. It's not 15 seconds. It's 10 seconds. Because the first usage has no cooldown. Correct. Good correction. Shout out. They're Schaffner. Yeah. Thumbs up. Well done. 10 seconds. Frostworm build time also adjusted. Neutral. Shadow Priests abolish magic. That is the dispel of the Shadow Priest. Damage decreased from 250 to 150. That means you don't one-shot wolves anymore. It's a lot less damage to all the summons. 100 damage is quite a bit. You have a limited amount of dispel. And you now also have later Shadow Priests. Shadow Priests become available at the 2-minute mark, similar for heroes. So when a hero spawn, you can get the Shadow Priest immediately. They put an extra penalty on it for another minute. So basically, at the moment, you can pull out a Merc camp, use another unit, get the Shadow Priest at the 2-minute mark. This more lines up with I creep the camp, and after I'm done with the camp, I get the Shadow Priest. That's more or less the difference. But then, the mercenaries replenish in the mercenary camp, right? After a certain amount of time, they become available again. Currently, that value is 110 seconds. Now it will be 160 seconds. So every Shadow Priest is 50 seconds later. And then the second Shadow Priest is 100 seconds later. Etc, etc, etc. So in general, Shadow Priest weaker, Shadow Priest later, Shadow Priest lower in quantity. That is a huge buff to summons. To all summons. Brewmaster Breath of Fire was nerfed big time before. And the big problem is that the panda sneezes the fire, right? And the initial damage is very, very minimal. So you oftentimes want to step back, cast the Breath of Fire to have a wider cone. This initial spot for the AoE has been widened now. It's still shorter to match the animation, but the initial cone is wider, which I think is a good development. I don't know if it's enough, but it's certainly the right direction, I would say. Beastmaster's starting strength up by 2. So the Beastmaster has more HP and more right-click damage. And more HP regen, but that's about it. So a little bit of love for the Beastmaster. That is the patch notes. So let me say, before we go into every single line, let me say something in general. This is a balance patch, and I am extremely grateful that this game gets support. I am extremely grateful that they added balance patches on top. And without valuing the changes for now, to say what's good, what's bad, etc., I'm missing something. And there was a time when I said this before. I miss Blizzard vision in this. I appreciate a lot that the Warcraft 3 team has eyes and ears for this community, because there's a lot of brilliant minds in this community and a lot of people stepped forward and presented their ideas after the last PTR. But most of these ideas are coming from Grubby, Save Orcas, maybe a little bit of Remo Demo, and forums. So to me, it's a little bit of a red flag and a warning sign that the balance changes are only community feedback stuff that they read in the last 7 days. Maybe they had ideas before. Maybe they were convinced by community suggestions, but I miss their own perspective. I miss the Blizzard input. To me, this reads like cherry picking from the community. And as it oftentimes is, if you cherry pick from individual balance proposals, you lose the vision of the individual proposal. And I think that's not great. I don't know if they have like a time limit to get this done before Christmas, or if they are working on something else, if they have to take care of StarCraft again, if they have to take care of Heroes again. Maybe time is shorter for Warcraft 3. But if that's the case, I would love for them to post before the first PTR, yo guys, we are listening to suggestions now. Let me hear your feedback so we can do it in the first PTR version. Because now we have like one final PTR version and then the real patch is coming out, right? Since there was no balance patch in the first version, we basically lost a week. I hear what you're saying, but do you really miss the Matt Morris patch? I miss nothing that Matt Morris ever did. I do think, very strongly believe, that the current Warcraft team is a lot more competent than the previous Warcraft teams when it comes to patching the game, when it comes to vision of the game, from what we've seen before. Because I complained about something very similar in the last patch version. And then the week after, they presented amazing changes that I hadn't seen before in any suggestion. So they do have a vision. I just miss this completely in these suggestions. Neo is sad his suggestions have not been heard by those of others. No, I am very, very, very pleased that suggestions are heard. As I said, we got brilliant minds in this community. I like a lot of Grubby suggestions. I dislike a few others. I like a lot of Save Orca suggestions. I dislike a few others. I do have a very different vision than most of the people. Yeah, it does feel like it's just a potpourri of community ideas. And I would love to see a little bit more Blizzard and a little less community. But if I have to choose between one or the other, I will always, 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 always take the community suggestions.